the weather, or as my dad would say, I'm being a pussy. He's not entirely wrong though, like I definitely am a pussy. You'll figure that out if you talk to me for like any time at all. Like I'll say things like, I have to go to the potty now. Or if I drop something, I'll say, zoinks, or something like that. No manly person has ever like uttered the phrase zoinks like in their life before. I know I'm a pussy. I used to watch Glee. Yeah, no, don't clap for Glee. The worst part is that I would skip over all of the parts where they were singing, which is like watching porn but turning it off every time you see someone naked. I was just really like invested in the plot, I guess. Being a pussy gets me into trouble sometimes. A couple years ago, I had a really bad tummy ache. And my tummy ache did not go away, but no one would take me seriously because I was calling it my tummy ache. And so eventually I ended up doing some research on my own, and I typed my symptoms in WebMD or whatever, and one of the top things that popped up was appendicitis. And that was really scary. And I was going through the checklist of all the symptoms, and I'm like, yeah, until I got to the last one, and I had a huge sigh of relief. Because the last one said, a complete inability to flatulate. And I can fart whenever I want. I can fart right now. And so all of a sudden I was freaking out. I had one shred of hope left. I thought to myself, okay, when do you always fart? When you shit. So I ran down to the bathroom, took my pants all the way off, because if you have an intense shit, you can't just leave that shit at your ankles. You gotta take them all the way off. So I took my pants off, sat on the toilet, the quietest shit. Like, snuck its way, like a snake, like, slipping through the plains, just like... I'll be like, shit-based comedy, because that's the majority of my set. So all of a sudden I was freaking out, I was losing my mind, like, I didn't even bother to put on my pants, I slammed open the door, I started running, and at that moment, through the window, I locked eye contact with my neighbor. And I don't know what the correct reaction is when you're staring at your neighbor not wearing any pants, just having found out you have appendicitis. But I know the correct reaction is not to start crying, which is what I did. I'm really glad you guys are all here. It means a lot. Although I have to say, I'm not really surprised you guys are here. And it's not an egotistical thing at all. It's just most of you live in Springfield, Illinois. And there's just not that much to do in Springfield, Illinois. Like my friends will ask me what I want to do for fun on like a Saturday night, and I'll be like, well, we could climb up a hill. And they're like, why would we climb up a hill, Jack? And I was like, well, we're down here right now. Could be up there. I do have one real hobby though. I play Pokemon. Thank you. Not like the socially acceptable Pokemon Go. No. I mean like the child's card game Pokemon. My friends will try to make me embarrassed about it, like they'll make fun of me for it or whatever, but I'm really not embarrassed. And the reason is because a room full of people playing Pokemon is about the only place on earth that I can go and be objectively like the best looking one there. It's not like I've got a ton of competition though, like I'm only the only one there who's ever heard of deodorants or has like put on a button-up shirt. But still, I'm not embarrassed. The one thing that does make me embarrassed is when I lose at a child's card game to a child. I've spent a lot of time and energy trying to convince my friends that Pokemon is actually a really complex, like intricate game that you just wouldn't understand unless you really played it. I've literally gone as far as to describe Pokemon as being chess on crack. Which begs the question, if Pokemon is chess on crack, why am I losing to a 9-year-old? Like, I'm acting like this is some intellectual thing. Meanwhile, the 9-year-old can't pronounce his R's and doesn't know how many sides are in a trapezoid. The whole time, I'm thinking about how humiliating and embarrassing this is that I'm losing. Meanwhile, all the kid can think about is whether or not his favorite, like, Minecraft YouTuber uploaded that day, or if his mom put, like, Gushers in his lunchbox or something like that. It's horrifying. At the end of the game, after you lost, you get handed a match slip. And what a match slip is it's a little piece of paper where you sign your name that kind of signifies that, yes, I lost. It's like signing away your last shred of dignity. So I signed my name, the little kid signs his name, and somehow like a booger ends up on like the end of the kid's signature. Like he was like pressing his family seal into some hot wax or something. So now it's my job to take this match slip up to the judge. And what a judge is a very generous term for like a 40 or 50-year-old man who's in charge of like overseeing the game and making sure everyone plays by the rules. We have this one judge in Springfield, his name is like Paul, I think, and Paul stares at the kids like a little too long. He's got more. Oh, that's not even the worst part. He's got like more fingers than he does teeth. And on top of all of that, he never leaves the house. The worst part, he never leaves the house without first putting on his cat ear headband and also a rainbow cat tail that comes out of I really don't know where. So I hand the match up to Paul, and Paul looks at me, and he looks at the match slip, and he looks at the kid, and he goes, I'm like, are you kidding me, Paul? With your rainbow cattail, you're judging me? But you know what? I had a moment of clarity after that. I thought to myself, you know what? I'm really not that far off from Paul. In 10, 20 years, I could be the next Paul. And so I had a sigh of acceptance, and I said, all right, show me where it plugs into. The urethra, surprisingly. Yeah, we're not against that. So middle school's weird. Still working on my transitions. Middle school's a weird time because my brother's in middle school right now, and you have like the widest variety of kids like in the planet at a middle school. Like you can walk in a classroom and see one kid with like a little boy with like drool actively coming out of his mouth, wearing like a Fortnite graphic tee, sitting next to some girl who's like already got lung cancer from vaping too much, and like also has a nipple ring somehow. It's a huge variety of kids. I had a really weird middle school experience. I went to 2 different middle schools. I went to a really rough kind of urban middle school in Michigan, and then I also went to Isles Middle School. And I don't know how familiar you guys are with Isles Middle School, but rough does not describe Isles. Isles is the type of middle school where we would like literally hold hands as we're walking in a single file line, like from class to class. I got detentions constantly there. I got detentions for everything. One time I was pushed out of line in a water fountain line, and I got a detention for that. One time I dropped my textbook and I got a detention for that. In hindsight, that was probably because I loudly yelled out "Zoinks!" Callback. But I got detention all the time. The good part was, fortunately, all detention was it was just sitting in my teacher's room for lunch while she was eating her lunch. And there was this one teacher, her name was Mrs. Oslo, and she would give me detentions all the time for everything. So I was always in her room. And so after a while, I decided to have a little bit of fun with it, and I decided the whole detention, I was just going to stare at her the entire time. And I always made sure to pack at least 1 banana, if not 2, and just slowly. If that got old, I might lick my lips once or twice. So eventually, after she got tired of this, she said, Jack, if you keep staring at me, you'll be in here all week. And I said, oh, Mrs. Oslo, I'm counting on it. Yeah, so that was, I'm past middle school now, fortunately. I'm in college now. I really like college. I like all the independence that comes with it. I'm not a huge fan of living with other people, though. Maybe it's just my roommate. He doesn't really respect personal space. One morning I woke up and there was a pair of seemingly used underwear on my bed, or not my bed, my desk. And I asked him, I was like, hey, Brandon, is that your underwear? And he goes, well, it looks like mine. And did nothing. So when he left, I shit on his bed. And when he got back, he said, Jack, is that your shit on my bed? And I said, well, it looks like mine. Oh, I'm a terrible person. I'm pro-genocide. Anybody? Nobody? Okay, listen. I can hear you guys pulling back. Hear me out. Think of all of the problems that we could solve with just like a little sprinkling of genocide. Overpopulation? Check. Pollution? Check. Overcrowding? Check. Like, all these problems solved with a little sprinkle of genocide. The question, of course, arises, well, who do we kill? And I'm not a monster. I don't want it to be like a gender or ethnicity or anything like that. Like, that's horrible. I think we should kill people with peanut allergies. I don't mean like just a slight peanut allergy. No. I'm talking about the people where like, if you walk in a room with like a Nutri-Grain bar, they'll like seize up and go, was that made in the same factory as a peanut product? And if the answer is yes, they'll immediately like puff up like a balloon. Those people do not deserve to live. My biggest weakness as a mortal human would be like a gunshot in the head. If your biggest weakness is a little legume, maybe you're a waste of air and space. My nightmares consist of like people breaking into my house and like shooting my loved ones. If your nightmares are the planner's guy with his top hat and cane, maybe you weren't supposed to get out of infancy. I can tell you guys think I'm being harsh. But think of it this way, we're the only society that gives a damn about these people. Think about like the ancient Greeks. If you had like some intolerance to peanuts or something, they would just say like, "You have offended Demeter, goddess of agriculture and legumes. Ye shall be like banned from Greece for all eternity." And they would have kicked you into the ocean and never thought about you again. Thank you.